that, we'll call the meeting. Oh, if you're to order, sorry. That was very violent, like.
Enough.
Welcome, everybody. We will call the meeting to order at 2:32. We are all here, but we'll do the official roll call.
Mr. Connors?
Here.
Mr. Harshaw?
Here.
Ms. Barhu?
Here.
Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Betts?
Here.
Chairman Bowler?
Here. We're all here, but we obviously couldn't do this without our wonderful city staff, Miss Melissa Phillips, our development review technician, Mr. David Russell, our assistant city attorney. I didn't know if I changed it on my list or not, on my cheat sheet, but I did apparently. Our wonderful IT committee is back there, and of course, Miss Becky Groom, welcome back. We missed you last month, our board secretary. Approval of the minutes from Thursday, September 21st, 2023. Do we have any changes or revisions? Comments, questions, or a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And with that, that brings us to Case A. Mrs. Groom, if you could please read that case into the record.
BOA 2023-021, variances from Article 4, Section 42B3 of the City of Daytona Beach Land Development Code. A request by Anita and Marvel Galantine for variances from Article 4 zoning districts, Section 42B3, Residential Base Zone District, Single Family Residential 5 of the City of Daytona Beach Land Development Code for a single-family structure to decrease the minimum front property line setback from 30 feet to 24.9 feet, to decrease the minimum interior side property line setback from 10 feet to 3.5 feet, and to increase the maximum lot coverage from 35% to 45%. This will allow a 13 by 5 by 25, 338 square foot attached garage to be constructed on the east side of the structure property. The property is located at 600 Jessamine Boulevard, parcel ID 5305-0142-0160.
Thank you. Whoa. Do we have the applicant in the room? If you'd like to come up and state your name and address for the record.
I'm Marvel Galantine, and this is my wife, Anita Galantine.
If you could just say your address for the record.
We currently live at 836 North Grandview.
Okay.
And the variance is for 600 Jessamine Boulevard,
Okay,
our
thank
next
you.
door property.
Okay, perfect, thank you. If you want to tell us a little about your case, we have the whole packet, but we always like to just hear it from you.
Okay, 25 years ago, when the setbacks were different, we built the house. The setback at the time was 25 feet on the front, 15 on the street, 5 on the abutting property, and 5 on the back. So if you look at the structure, you'll see the front is 24.9, so either the surveyor or the contractor messed up by 0.1. It's supposed to be 25 feet. In order to add a second garage, we have one-car garage, but we need another one. But with inflation and the cost of cars now, leaving a car out next to the beach area with all the salt is highly detrimental. So in keeping with the appearance of the front of the property, setback from the now required 30 feet to 25 feet would allow that front of the garage to blend perfectly with the property. The 13.5 foot, like I said, it used to be 5 setback on the interior property line. In order to get a car in and out and open a door, we need the width. So, and that still will only allow really for one car door to open. So to decar somebody from the passenger side, they'll have to get out on the driveway and then pull the car in. So we've tried to make this as small a garage as possible, yet still allow for a car to enter. The length of it's 25 feet, and that'll allow a little bit of storage in the front of the car for like a lawnmower or something small like that. And the lot coverage increases that 10%. So those are the three variances we're asking for.
Okay, thank you. And I saw in your application, it's all going to look exactly the same as the house,
Exactly.
same materials, same,
It'll be a concrete block with stucco finish.
okay. And you previously operated this as a duplex, and now it's single family. And do you intend to live there, or is it a rental property for you?
It was a rental for 23 years. We live next door in a home that was built in 1954, much smaller. And we had the city change it from multifamily to single family. And we're in the process of moving and hanging pictures and mirrors and moving couches. And, you know, all of the junk that you acquire 25 years to live in someplace.
The best part of moving is to free up some. Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments for the applicant?
I have a question. There's, in your paperwork, you indicated that the home to your
East,
right roof eaves is on their, exactly on the property line. Is that correct?
that is correct.
So if this was approved, you would literally have less than 3 feet
Correct.
from their structure and your structure.
Yes, sir. And we have talked with the owners. Their master bedroom is abutting the parking spot that we have now. So by enclosing that in the garage, it will allow more privacy and quiet for the master bedroom.
I guess in looking at that, I also, when we went through the review from the city's perspective, they indicated that it wasn't a fire hazard. And I said they didn't suggest that it would be a fire hazard. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think we discussed that.
Well, I forget the exact verbiage that you used, but when we get down to.
Oh, and the questions
Yeah.
we're talking about, yeah.
Everything is okay, basically. I'm not putting you on the spot, but everything's okay. And I don't understand when you only have a 3-foot separation, that it wouldn't be a fire hazard.
Let me give you a little hint. Went through the process a couple years ago, and because my garage that I did is similar in situation like this, a 1 hour firewall is required. He's doing concrete block wall with no windows, and so he will meet a 1 hour firewall with that. And any wood part, like where the roof is and that, close, you might want to look at intumescent paint to use on the outside. That's a fireproof paint, fire-resistant paint. That creates a 1 hour, yeah, it creates a 1 hour firewall as well. And that's what I used at mine.
Okay.
So it works out pretty good.
Thank you. I didn't know about that paint. So the space is actually going to be like 5 or 5.5 feet. It's just because of that overhang is why we kind of are going to the 3.5 feet. Okay.
I have a question. I was out at the property earlier. The setbacks were different. The south side of the house appears that it's right on the property line as well. They actually have a gutter system that's running onto their neighbor's property. Your gutter comes down and it actually shoots almost, you're right at the chain link fence, so it goes right into your neighbor's property.
That's our property.
That's your property, okay. So that's where you live. I was thinking you lived across the street.
We're
Okay.
moving out
Okay,
the
so
front
you're-
door into the back door.
And from the answer earlier, you're moving into this home, so you're gonna,
We're 2/3 there.
okay. Okay. So there were no variances when this property was originally built?
I didn't check that. I'm not
It just seems the
sure.
property lines are just really, really close, and I'm not used to this especially because that home was built where?
1954. Our house, the duplex,
The one at the duplex.
okay, it was built in 2000,
Yeah.
2001.
It just seemed like the property it was tight on the south side. I was just really, really surprised. And did you build it?
Had it built, yes.
Yes,
Um,
you built it, okay.
There's a chain link fence
Yep.
that is on 836 North Grandview's property.
Okay.
And so.
Your property?
Yes.
Okay.
And, well, and so when the inspector came to check the survey stakes, he said, you know, the contractor's footing building that he'd done there, he said, that's not 5 feet. And so then we took tape measure from a wall of 836 North Grandview to 600 Jasmine, and it was 10 feet. And I showed him the stake that the surveyor, the monument that he'd driven in the ground that puts the fence a foot onto our property. Because see, that was a vacant lot that had been fenced 100 years ago. It was a virgin vacant lot. So there's 10 feet separation between both structures on the back, which back then it was 5 foot. And the inside abutment house, corner house, was 5 feet. But like, I don't know when it changed, but the front setback, when David Leet, the architect, drew it up, we were asking questions and we thought we wanted the front of the house facing Grandview. And he said, well, it's 75 by 125, and if you do that, your setback's going to be, you'll lose a lot of property. You'll have a big front yard, but you'll have a smaller house. So if we put the front of the house at 75 width, it'll come back 25 feet, and you'll only have to come back 15 feet from the sidewalk. So that's how that went down.
That kind of doubles on my question. So the front of the house faces Jessamine, and that's the front. And then is the part that faces Grandview, is that a side yard technically then? So you actually have more than you need on that side?
Now, yes.
Yes. Like you have 15 feet and it only requires
That's a
like
street side.
10 or so.
That's
Oh,
street
okay,
side.
okay, okay.
And you have
Okay.
a really big sidewalk and there's space to the street.
Well, yes.
Oh,
and
street
if you
side,
look
I
at the
see.
survey and where the house was built, we had to redo that sidewalk after construction. So the .1s that are different from, is 24.9 instead of 25, and it's 14.9 instead of, I think the surveyors that laid out that sidewalk and did the cement work missed it by .1.
It's a very nice, clean-looking house, so, you know.
Well, we've been through a lot of hurricanes. So far, we haven't had any damage, so we obviously had it
Lucky.
built right and
Knock on wood, yeah.
it's a good-looking property. Questions? Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna ask, unless somebody has
Yeah,
a
if you don't
question.
mind.
You have some more? Yeah.
Yeah. Missy, can this home, once this is all done, can it be converted back into two-family again?
No, this is single-family residential, so it could not be converted back to a duplex.
So he had duplex, he was multifamily, he converted to single, he can't go back later.
Correct.
That was one concern.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak on this? Anyone? Anyone? No? Okay. Are there any additional questions or comments from the board? No. Okay.
I did notice there was an attachment, people in support of the
Right.
garage stuff. The neighbor to your south, that would be next to the garage, were they part of that?
As to the east,
Yes.
they did. They sent an email and
Okay.
totally concurred. It's going to be a benefit to them because it'll give them more privacy. Right now,
Yeah.
the driveway and the parking spot is adjacent to their master bedroom.
Right, right. Quiet and everything else, yeah.
And they live in Kansas, so they're not here yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the email was in your staff report from them.
That's the gentleman to your east, correct?
Correct.
Any other questions, or do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve case 8 as applied.
Do we have a second? Ms. Barhu? Mrs. Groom?
Mr. Connors?
Yes.
Mr. Harshaw?
Yes.
Ms. Barhu?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Chairman Bowler?
Yes. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Good luck with the move.
Yeah.
Fun.
The closest ones are the worst, I've found.
We have a tendency not to lighten the load and carry it next door.
Yeah.
If you haven't used it in 2 years, get rid of it.
I have all my parents' stuff, 'cause they lived in one of these units. I have their stuff.
Oh.
Just help it
And
out.
if you need a
My
good
advice.
volunteer, you know.
Strong back, we need somebody with a strong
And
back.
thank you, Melissa.
Yes.
She is awesome.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Look at that teamwork carrying the box. Okay. Okay, case B. Mrs. Groom, if you could please read case B into the record.
BOA 2023-022, variances from Article 4, Section 45B3 of the City of Daytona Beach Land Development Code. A request by Joseph Torch for variances from Article 4, Section 45B3, Tourist-Based Zone Districts, Tourist Accommodations, T1 of the City of Daytona Beach Land Development Code for a single-family structure to decrease the minimum front property line setback from 25 feet to 3.2 feet, and to decrease the minimum interior side property line setback from 7.5 feet to 1 foot. This will allow after-the-fact building permit approval of an 83-square-foot elevated, approximately 6 foot above grade deck and stairs constructed at the southeast side of the property. The property is located at 1305 North Atlantic, parcel ID 4236-0504-0510.
Thank you. Mr. Torch? Yes, my representative. Okay. If you could come up and state your name and address for the record, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for your volunteerism. My name's Steve Weaver. I'm a general contractor, Real-Time Property Development Services. I just moved here after a couple of years. 1157 Bel Air Drive, just behind the Bridge Club basketball courts on the beach side. I moved up here from Fort Pierce where I did some similar volunteerism and hope to maybe join the volunteer ranks someday.
Welcome.
Background on the project.
Yeah, give us some history, especially how, you know, this came to be that this
Oh,
was
I got
done
the whole
after
thing
the
memorized.
permit, yeah.
I had the whole thing. Even before that, the prior owners way back when cooperated with the taking of 10 or more feet of the roadway when they widened A1A in the 60s or 70s or 80s, whenever that was. And it created a series of nonconformities. I need that. All the way up and down the street, and the round thing. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then when the codes also changed and eliminated the ability to have your stairs in a front or side yard, which I'll come to it, it's the round thing. I'm sorry, sir. So it's a little counterintuitive. In most zoning districts, you can have your stairs in the front or side yard. And this house was constructed with the stairs coming up to the side, as several of the pictures show. And they were haphazard at best, because when they moved the road, they added little bits of incremental stairs, and they were unlevel. They were 8.5, 9 inches. Some of the treads were 10 inches wide, some are 12. There's intermediate landings, there's curves. There was a part where the rail didn't meet code, and somewhere along the way, the stairs collapsed because they were built out of cruddy concrete, probably got the salt on the rebar before they had a chance to pour it. And Mr. Torch applied, this is, I think, during COVID or after one of the hurricanes. Mr. Torch, they were falling down, it was a safety hazard. He applied for a permit with a general drawing showing some stairs. I don't think he placed it on a plan, and it was approved, and he was issued a permit for the stairs, essentially where he's putting them down. Mr. Torch then, before I knew him, then took the liberty of enclosing the front porch, and figured he'd just do something and address it. Well, the stop work order triggered a re-review by the planning department, and when they looked at it, they realized that, and I have correspondence from Mr. Rozek and Ms. Phillips, that the stairs were no longer allowed to be in the front or the side setback. And we went back and forth and said, well, what can we do? And they said, if you put the stairs back exactly as they were prior, then you can do it. And I went to the building official, the building department, and said, I'm only allowed to put these back per planning, exactly the way they were. I said, well, you can't do that because there's 9-inch risers and they don't meet code, and there's all these intermediate landings that don't meet section 10, part 11 of the Florida Building Code. The rise and the run have to be consistent all the way up, the railings, the pickets, landing at the top has to be the width of the stairs. And fortunately for Mr. Torch, what he had built was essentially consistent with the code. And he got me involved when he got cited by code for closing the whole thing. My initial interactions with Ms. Phillips, she determined that the enclosures of the porch didn't require a variance. So it came back to the stairs. And then, so we made the application for the stairs, and it's a little bit of a misnomer to describe it as a 3-foot, the building being 3 foot. The building hasn't moved. It's only the entry stairs. And one of the better exhibits in our presentation is there's a before and after survey of the stairs, and then there's an overlay that shows that the stairs are essentially in the same position, but just a little longer because of the need to have the stairs be the proper height. And the landing at the top was required to be as wide as the stairs. Mr. Torch made them wider than they were prior, and thus here he is. And as far as, so we couldn't rebuild them the way they were. The staff report does indicate that the variance that's requested is the minimum to make the stairs that he put in place work. It's conceivable he could saw a foot off of the stairs and they'd still meet the width code, and the same with the landing, but that'll be up to you. I can show throughout the neighborhood that both to the south and the north, and if you're familiar with the south side of A1A, several of the hotels and many of the houses come right up to the property line. I mean, I have dimensions, photos, all this rolled out, 3 blocks to the north and south, so there's a dozen of them. And he didn't expand the house forward. It is just the stairs. They are the minimum length needed to meet code. The fire code wants you to approach from the street, so we couldn't put an L in them to keep them farther from the street. And I think that's it.
So the fire code does or doesn't want them towards the street?
The fire department wants you, when you turn off the sidewalk, to face the stairs like they are now.
Okay.
I couldn't
Okay.
have them, and there's only 2 parking spaces that are actually down in from when they raised the road when they did it, so
Okay.
it would have been taking one of his 2 parking spaces.
Okay.
And I still contend that since there's several properties that are built up to the front and side setbacks, that the need for a variance to put stairs to the house is a little bit more than one might expect, but here we are, and we're trying to do everything necessary.
Okay. I mean, there is no question that this is something that is very prevalent along A1A, you know. So what it looked like to me from the application was that he wanted to enclose it, and then he's like, well, I want a deck anyways, and then he built a big deck. But your explanation actually tells me that this is 2 separate issues. So how did the enclosure get resolved? Is that is not permitted either now, or is it now permitted?
So the porch was already covered, so them
Okay.
enclosing it wasn't considered expanding a nonconformity.
Okay.
Because the roof made it existing, putting walls on it didn't really change it.
Okay.
It didn't expand the
Okay.
nonconformity, so that's why there was no issue there.
Okay.
And the biggest issue was the landing,
Okay.
the deck, because it's so big. The building code requires a landing to be the width of the door. So if the door
Okay.
is 3 feet wide, the landing needs to be 3 by 3, and obviously this is bigger than that.
Okay.
That was, and elevated 6 feet off the ground.
Okay.
So that was the concern.
Okay. But the landing was required anyways,
The,
or not at that height necessarily?
the landing,
I did see that page, but if you could just kind of explain it to us
give my goofy glasses.
in terms that relate to your property.
The landings, quote unquote, from Florida Building Code, landings are required at the top and bottom of each stairway. So that's part one of my response. Part two is the width of the landings shall not be less than the width of the stairway served. So frankly, he got lucky when he built it because he built the landing as wide as the stairs. And that's why it's so wide.
Okay.
But the code only actually requires the landing to be the width of the door. And
Okay.
because, so the stairs technically don't have to be wider than the width of the door.
So as I mentioned, under a really a conservative valuation, Mr. Torts could be required to cut 15 inches or so off of the stairs and off of the landing to be more compliant than this circumstance allows.
Okay.
I think that's our fallback proposal.
Okay. And that's why I'm kind of asking some questions before everybody else asks, because I think, the application looked like much bigger than the explanation. And you can respond if I'm getting it incorrect. It just sounds like, it seemed like we were approving this room and this huge deck and the stairs coming into the road, but it seems like we're just approving or discussing a variance to 15 inches or whatever. The additional, the landing was required, the stairs were required. It's just because everything's a little wider than it was supposed to be, or it had to be. Is that correct?
If I may. The stairs are shown the new stairs are shown on the survey
Right.
as 6 feet wide. When you add the posts and the minimum tread requirements, which is either 36 or 44, depending on whether you consider it a multifamily commercial or a single family, that's where I came up with the 15 or more inches. So the stairs, in my opinion, are required to be 40 inches wide. And then the 6x6 posts either side would add another foot. So that takes it to 5 feet wide. And so that leaves a foot that he could cut off. And I've been underneath it, and in the event that that's your decision, we can go in there and modify them
Okay.
and make them slightly smaller.
Okay.
So that top landing that's by the front door, if that was made smaller, more towards the sides of that door, would there then be sufficient room to build staircase straight down like the prior existing stairs?
Well, as you go upstairs, it's typical to have, like with an ADA, when you have to have that 18 inches on the side of the door, typically you would not put them right up against the door as you got up. You'd have a little bit up and turn to the right. And also, if you put them there, working from memory, I believe it would come down in one of the 2 driveway spaces he has, if he moved it all the way to the right.
I'm talking about like the stairs that are there, that existing there now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if the deck that's currently there now, if that was made smaller to more to like the size of the door as required, as the minimum requirements, would there then be sufficient room to rebuild those stairs that you see coming straight out towards, I guess, in a easterly direction? In other words, parallel with A1A versus coming at it perpendicular?
No, sir. No. If you're saying that the stairs would come out of the south side of the house and go straight down
I guess
towards the south.
I guess the original permit that was approved was to replace the existing stairs.
Yeah.
Okay? If that top deck was smaller, would there be enough room to replace those existing stairs that you see in that picture right there? Could you build a staircase that is compliant with the requirements, the statutes now?
It would definitely have to have a dog leg in it, sir. If the landing was smaller and the stairs came out to face south, there'd have to be an intermediate landing and then go towards the street, because the building's only 6 feet from the property line, and I think there's 12 or 13 treads, each of them 11 inches, so you need about 11 feet, 12 feet overall to get down that much elevation.
So when for the city, when the initial permit is approved, is that taken in consideration, the current requirements to make stairs? I mean, he was approved to replace those stairs as in the same footprint that they had there. So I'm assuming somebody would have looked and said, yeah, this can be done by the standards?
The way the code allows for with nonconformities is you can replace exact existing
Yeah.
or bring into code. So any expansion requires compliant, LDC compliant, current LDC compliance. Or if you're just replacing exact existing, you can replace it exactly as is.
Even though the rise and the run of these old stairs was not high enough, like these.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess
If I
that's.
may.
Yeah.
It's a minor disconnect between the building code and the planning code, and we tried our best to resolve it.
Right.
I thought maybe the planning department had some administrative discretion, but Mr. Morozov was clear. Once, if you do anything out there at all except replace them as they were, even if it's just to bring them to code, then you need a variance. And then we touched on the fact that they could be a little bit narrower if need be.
And the variance isn't a big deal, I don't think, because especially with as old as your house is, you're trying to, they're all out of compliance basically, and that's why they come here all the time to get variances, and we approve them quite often because these are existing footprints. So I don't think getting the variance, I have an issue with every time there was a permit approved, we're going way above and beyond, or just, completely ignoring what was required by the permits and stuff. And it happened a couple of times, not just the one time.
I hope to meet you on different terms, but this is Mr. Torch, and I've come in to try and help him make the best of a difficult situation he put himself in.
Right, no, I understand.
I do think that, I agree exactly. I do think, it's always hard for us to look at the after the fact stuff. So, as much as you can speak towards that, the better. Because the variance in and of itself, the way you explained it, is probably not the main issue here.
I think we're supported maybe by the staff report that says that the requested variance is the minimum needed to make that set of stairs compliant. I think we're further slightly supported by the staff report that says they don't see any downside to the community or to health and safety. And at that point, there's still the gray area of what this board feels is best.
Right.
And so you, as the general contractor, are saying that you cannot, for you to build compliant stairs, that it has to come down and a turn towards the street?
The landing that Mr. Torch built
Not,
appears.
say it doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay? Can you build one that's in compliant, that is more like what was initially approved?
Well, since the door is within just a foot of the front of the house, as you came out on the south side, there'd have to be a landing that was about 4 foot by 4 foot. And that would be enough to turn and then go down, and then you'd be on a 4 foot set of stairs. And so with the posts and everything else, it'd be almost 5 feet. And so that's where I came up with that. If need be, we could take the stairs apart, put them back together, small.
Yeah.
Another
Like-
15 inches.
Yeah.
When I look at the March 3rd, 2022, when I look at that, and you weren't even allowed, this is what I'm hearing you say, you weren't even allowed to put that back because the rise and the run, weren't
Building code.
back to code. And there's all these landings and weird things
Very unsafe.
there.
Very unsafe.
I mean, so this looks much cleaner,
And frankly, Mr. Torch, one of the few benefits now that everything's built out over there is you can go out on that deck and see the ocean. But,
Okay. Would you like to say something? Come on up.
Intermediate landings.
Come on up. I'm gonna have to make you say your official name and your address. It's the rules they make me follow, you know. But we don't have to swear you in, is the good news.
I'm Joe Torch. My property's at 1305 North Atlantic. And the intermediate landings, really, as Steve mentioned, the overlay surveys, it's in the exact same location. And it is 5 feet. And the back steps are the same. If I don't have the wider, and everyone calls it a deck, I understand that, but it's really a landing. I cannot get any large furniture in the building then. I can't make that turn. And I would have to either upgrade the back steps and go through the similar process, or I'm hopeful that you just let me keep the landing the way it is basically overlaid on top of the existing concrete. Depending on what direction you come into the house off the driveway, there's 3 landings or 4, if you count one of those steps as a landing.
previous.
If you come in directly off A1A, there's 3 landings. So I basically eliminated that, the wrong risers, the wrong depths, and it was just easier to have one landing. And you guys are all referring it as a deck. And as Steve mentioned, we could narrow it a little, but it's very hard to get furniture in there. That's basically.
I do. Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep calling it a deck. And that is what, you know, like I said,
Well,
what
I
it,
left it that way because that's what they.
yeah,
And I didn't want to change it. I could have changed it to a landing.
Right.
But I left it on there so you guys can.
right. Like with both of your explanations, I see now that right or wrong, whatever we decide here today, it does look like you combined a couple different weird landings. Like it would have either come out with a landing in this way, or there's a big one up here. So yes, so the explanation, I understand
Okay, that's all.
exactly what you're saying.
Thank you.
And I'll try to stop calling it a deck because I agree with you. Do we have any other questions from the board before we see if there's anyone in the audience?
A little more history on this property, if I could. You know, my position is, you know, don't do things and then come in and beg for forgiveness later. That's not the way I do business. I don't expect other people to do business like that. This property still looks to be like it's been a code enforcement issue. How long has this been going on, just from your recollections?
A stop work order because of this has kept him from proceeding, or it would have all been done.
No, I mean, I'm looking at from March of 2022, he was cited for broken steps, dilapidated balcony, missing siding, et cetera, et cetera. So how long has this been going on? And so like when the porch was enclosed, was there a permit?
I honestly don't know. It started with the code enforcement case, and then they did the work without permits, or if code enforcement caught them working without permits, and then they submitted permits. I don't know the semantics on that.
If I might go on about the timeline, may I?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and keep in mind, I was not involved, didn't know this man,
I understand.
and I hope to meet you on a different term.
You're just taking the wrath of it because you're speaking
I
on
sure am.
behalf here, so.
March of
The
2020
messenger it always happens to.
March of 2022, he got cited and the stairs were dilapidated. He got a permit to fix them. He got started on it and got carried away and closed the porch at the same time. A stop work order was issued and the place looks identical to the way it did then. We tried to, he hasn't changed because he hasn't been allowed to. If he would have put up one piece of siding or anything else, he would have been probably arrested. So that, and then there's the mitigating factors from my perspective of the hurricanes that slowed everything down and the couple other things, but I do agree, ATF is nowhere to be, and if he wasn't a friend, I wouldn't be, after the fact. And I think he's certainly paid his price for, he hasn't had any income or use of the properties for a year and a half, so he's not happy about it either.
So you don't live there?
No,
You do live there? Okay.
He hasn't any use of the property.
can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Right on that.
I'm a T1, and I own the vacant lot behind, it's R1. And with the tourist encroachment into the residential area, I used to rent it like the previous guy up here, as long-term rentals. And then I switched to Airbnb with the upper unit in 2016. I was one of the first, I was zoned for it. And then, with the, call it the Airbnb model, tourist encroachment in, like the truck show, for example. And those walls and steps were just, like he said, they were starting to deteriorate. And the hurricane took off the siding on the south side. The porch was starting to dilapidate. And when Kevin cited me, he told me to put in the permit for the dilapidated porch and stairs in the south wall. So I did put a permit in. And I worked on it for a year. And then Jurgen came by and he cited me for doing extra stuff. Well, we were going into hurricane season. By that time, in the 3 pillars holding up the porch, when I took the aluminum stuff off, some of them were dilapidated. So I had to build basically a standard wall to work on the dilapidated porch. So now we're going into rainy season. So I closed it. And so it's not just the steps and stairs. In my mind, I satisfied the original permit. And then Kevin knew, I said, I'm gonna come around the front, because in the previous hurricanes, I did the north side with hardy board siding. And now I've successfully done the south side, and I have the revision, I just never submitted it. I'm doing the hardy board siding on the front. And he even knows that I was going to come around and do the northeast porch. And after last year's hurricane, when the tropical winds elevator roof flew off, it landed in my lot. It weighed like 4,000 pounds. And it blew down the tropical winds, huge marquee sign, and it blew out my front window, it didn't break. And for the safety of that structure, both porches need to be enclosed. It's just a better fit. And
If I could help him summarize?
go ahead, sorry.
Mr. Torch took some liberties on closing the porch. We've determined that there's plans being worked on to get that taken care of. The stairs were built by Mr. Torch's decision at the width that he did. He didn't make them any longer than they needed to be, but he did make them wider than they needed to be. And he's apologetic for that as well. And we're here to follow whatever you guys decide.
Yeah. I do see that, like, I am empathetic to when you're kind of working, the hurricanes are coming, you know, it's hard to, like, stay focused. So, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I thought I turned that on silent. So I am empathetic to what you're saying. Also, I do see in your thing that it doesn't really, I mean, the stairs are wider, but it doesn't take up more room than what was there before. So I think that's really confusing with what happened with the building code and stuff. So, I guess what I'm saying is your explanation really helped me feel differently about the written application that I saw. So
It's incidental that I live over 1157 Bel Air, and I got cited for the stairs that were built in 1957 out of pavers, and just coincidentally, I decided to rebuild them 8 feet wide, but I didn't have this issue because I don't know why.
this is a really good exhibit.
I gotta have stairs to get up a hill. So,
Was that, and he created a lot of this because when he closed it off, because it had the landing it basically had, the porch was a landing, you know, so you wouldn't have any problem getting your furniture in the way it was initially built. Is when you decided to close it off, that created that landing to get pushed outside the, I guess, the side structure of the entire residence, you know? So,
That's correct. If you count the original porch, that's the fourth landing. And there, depending on which direction you walked up, there's 3 or 4 landings. And the original surveyor never put them on the original survey. So if you look at, that's why we did the overlay. And he's right, the original porch is another landing. So my main focus was, how am I getting furniture in here? And these 3 or 4 different landings, and they're non-conforming to the treads, the ride, all that stuff Steve said. And that's why the deck isn't a deck, it's a landing.
If I may,
So,
I just got to straighten this up. That no matter whether the porch was there or not,
right,
there had to be a landing.
right, to
per-
make the turn.
In line with the stairs.
Right.
Because you couldn't put the stairs over here, because then it would be in the driveway.
And all the concrete steps were all 5 feet wide. That's why the steps are 5 feet wide. I did it exactly. And Steve's right, I didn't really get lucky. That was my intention, to overlay it without using lasers.
Right. Yeah.
Almost did it.
And for me, I'm ignoring the enclosure because it sounds like that was okay. It's like we tore down the stairs and we still, there has to be a landing somewhere, right? Like you said. So do we want 6 landings like there were before? There weren't 6, but there was like 3. Okay. So yeah. I mean, when you see the overlay, like you said, your most important exhibit, I feel like that shows me that it takes up the same amount of room. At least that's what I'm seeing.
From
Because-
strict analysis, it actually takes up a couple square feet less,
Okay.
but I don't think we want to count 8 square.
Now, is there an enclosure somewhere else that we have to talk about, or that was allowed to, basically? Yeah.
He hasn't
Okay.
done anything
No,
else.
I'd like to do
Okay.
the northeast
Okay.
porch, just for more safety reasons.
Okay.
And when that goes through the planning department, it's been indicated that
But
that
there's
would
no
be.
steps on that, that's a private balcony pool.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Okay. So if somebody has more questions, otherwise I'm going to ask if there's anybody in the audience. And then if you think of a question. Is there anyone in the audience to speak on this for or against? No? Okay. Do we have any more questions? I'm just going to run through
I
my
just want to make
question
a
sheet.
comment. I just think that the applicant's explanation of when the right-of-way take happened and kind of restricted some things from the future to that, staying in the same footprint of what, his overlay shows here, I think is very important, because I look at this as anytime we have a after-the-fact come in, I think I'm going to analyze it as if it was part of the application process to begin with. And would we approve this? This house is at a cattywampus, tilted to the property line, so, I mean, just all those facts tell me that a variance is okay in this regard. So I'm supporting.
Yeah, me too. And usually when there's like an after the fact, we like to do that double the fee. But I'm not even sure if that applies here because it just is kind of convoluted for me now. Any other questions?
Mr. George, can you assure me that you're not going to try to put an overhang over the top of this plan?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I live it down the street and I'll tear it down if he starts. Lesson that said,
If there are no other comments, I'll make a motion to approve case B, subject to the staff reports of comments. I have no auditions.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Harshaw. Mrs. Groom, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Connors?
Yes.
Mr. Harshaw?
Yes.
Ms. Barhu?
Yes.
Mr. George?
no.
Mr. Betts?
Yes?
Chairman Bowler?
Yes. Thank you.
thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're a good friend. Also.
I hope to have a chance to volunteer with you guys.
Time.
on Sunday.
Bye.
I was a planning board
Careful,
chairman.
or we'll recruit you.
Welcome to Daytona.
We have some vacancies.
Yes.
I was the planning board chairman in Fort Pierce.
Oh,
on that
really?
for 7 years.
Wow.
Chairman for 3. Governor Scott put me on the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. But I'd gone to Embry-Riddle, and I moved back here because I wanted my kids to go to Seabreeze.
Oh, see.
We're so glad you came home.
Comment on his behalf.
Yeah.
I went to Embry-Riddle, and I worked on the space shuttle program.
Wow.
And I agree with standards and compliant.
Yeah.
And code enforcement is great, but we also need code empowerment. And this guy is probably one who could help lead that effort.
Well, you're a
Especially
great
from the
team.
general contractor.
Are you interested in serving on this board?
It's the
well-
contentiousness of some of these matters. Probably better than the code enforcement board.
Ah,
Yeah.
That's a sticky wicket there. Even the building department doesn't agree with how code enforcement here conducts themselves. I better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Okay. Case C.
BOA 2023-023, variance from Article 4, Section 42C3 of the City of Daytona Beach Land Development Code. A request by Randy Gray on behalf of Lash LaRue for a variance from Article 4, Section 42C3, Residential Base Zoning Districts, Multifamily Residential 12 of the City of Daytona Beach Land Development Code to decrease the required lot area from 6,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet. This will allow the existing 100-foot wide by 100-foot deep parcel to be split into two 50 feet wide by 100 feet deep parcels. Property is located in Indiana Street, parcel ID 523838001500.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, my name is Randy Gray. My address is 1312 Vine Street. I'm here in the matter trying to get a variance in order to put two single-family homes. Also bring up the neighborhood, something that's affordable. That's what my request is for today.
Okay. Thank you. And this used to be two parcels.
Originally
Yes.
platted as 2, correct?
Okay. And now the code just changed and
No, it
that's,
looks like somebody combined it in 2011.
Okay.
That's what I could find in the records, that
Okay.
someone had combined it. But it was originally platted as 2 separate 50
Okay.
lots.
any questions?
So technically, how big of a home could be built on each of these lots at this point?
The setbacks for this zoning district are,
Just so we're not causing ourselves a problem
I
later.
think there's an exhibit in here that shows it.
7.5 on the sides, 25 on the front and rear. Have them in here.
What were the sides?
7.5,
7.5 on the sides.
15,
Yeah.
35 feet.
So you got a 35-foot wide house. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and the lot looked big, you know, it looked like it could easily accommodate two houses.
Yeah, but a 35-foot wide.
If you look at page 3,
Yeah.
you can see the box in
Yeah.
which the house could fit.
I understood, I can't find it when I was reading this, but in my leisure, this would put the square footage of the land footprint of 5,000.
Correct.
And I understood, somewhere I saw 6,000 was the required amount.
6,000 is the required lot area for single-family and duplex dwellings. However, there is an exception in the Land Development Code in Article 8 that allows a single-family home to be built. It waives the lot size, lot width, depth, and area dimensions, so long as all other setbacks and standards are met, only for single-family. So he could put 2 single families on this 5,000 square foot, not one 5,000.
Square foot.
One on each lot.
One in each lot.
We knew what you meant.
Exactly what he'd like to do.
Right.
Did you say this is gonna be affordable housing?
Well, when I do homes, I make them where they're a little less than what the market is going for.
Okay.
I also do a lot of upgrades.
Okay.
And most homes that you see that's going around, it's just basic. I put it inside the homes, smart appliances, everything. So that way when a person come in, it feels like it's home, not a house. Again, what I do to them, you'll never find none. I did the ones on Model Street, and everybody that went in them houses said I killed it. Like,
Oh, you did the ones on Model
yes,
Street?
ma'am.
Oh, okay.
So I make it where when you walk in, you want it.
Right.
And the price is workable. Because I don't use the bank or nothing, so everything is workable. And that's the way I bring up the neighborhood because I actually used to live next door.
Oh, okay.
My ex-wife still there, but yeah, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we got you.
Just be careful with the paint job.
That's great. It's a nice little neighborhood, you know.
It is.
I'm looking forward to coming to your first open house.
Rough out there.
Any more questions before we see if there's anyone in the audience to speak?
Actually, it was neighbors. Oh, hey.
Okay, yeah.
How you doing? All right. There was actually two more. They had to leave. They had to run.
Oh,
to the
I'm
hospital.
sorry. Okay. Do you know if they were for or against?
Yeah, there was 4 men. But they said, I guess they got a call to
Okay.
somebody was in the hospital,
Okay.
so that's
Oh,
why they
okay.
left.
Okay, they were sitting in the back.
Okay.
Yes.
I did see them, yes.
Mhm.
Would you like to come up and say some things? Are you here to speak in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in favor of
Okay.
upgrading the neighborhood all the time.
Okay. Tell us your name and your address, and
My
then,
name is Sammy Davis.
okay.
Stay at 737 Howard Street.
Okay.
I stay in the neighborhood too. And the reason I'm coming up because I got some vacant lots back there too, and I wonder if I got to go through the same thing too.
Okay.
Oh,
They're together, and,
Yes.
yeah,
5,000 square.
So
okay.
every time we build out there, we got to come through a variance,
Yeah.
but that's the way it always been. When it was grandfathered in, that's the way the lots was, 50 by 100.
Mm-hmm.
And on the street I stay on, the Forest West, they 50 by 125.
Right.
That's the only street that's larger. So you telling me I got to come to get all that change? Nothing grandfathered in stays in.
I think.
That should
yeah.
refer to Ms. Phillips.
Yeah. I think here,
He may not. The only reason we're here is
Yeah.
the
It's 'cause
lot
it was
was
combined.
Combined.
so someone
Right, so you may
combined
not-
it.
If it's already separated, he may not need to come in, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm
think
for it.
you're going to be okay if yours are still
Alright.
separate, so.
But I think you know a builder.
I know it. I know it before he came from Miami. I just didn't know his whole name because I'm from Miami too.
All the way from Miami.
We're getting all kinds of history here.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, no one else in the audience? Any more questions? Motions?
I'll make a motion to approve BOA 2023-026 as applied for.
I second it.
Thank you. Mrs. Groom?
Mr. Harshaw?
Yes.
Ms. Barhu?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Mr. Connors?
Yes.
Chairman Bowler?
Yes.
And if I could just correct for the record, it's actually 023, this case number. I was looking at the next one. So BOA 2023-023.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go.
Good luck.
Bye. Good luck to you. Okay, by process of elimination, case D, or actually case F, A, B, C, D, D, and E. Okay. Okay.
Okay, I was curious about that.
So come on up. D, there is no D and E. They withdrew. Yeah. I know. Sorry that you have to wait through everything.
No, it was very interesting, so
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead of myself. Mrs. Groom has to read the case into the record.
BOA 2023-026, variances from Article 6, Section 6.4 and 6.6 of the Land Development Code. A request by George Bright and Reggie thank you, on behalf of Bethune-Cookman University for variances from Article 6, Section 6.4, property landscape perimeters, decreasing the requirement of flowering plants adjacent to a public right-of-way from 25 feet to approximately 3 feet from Section 6.4E 1B III, reducing the number of required shade trees per 40 linear feet from 8 trees to 0, reducing the number of required small trees per 80 linear feet from 4 trees to 0, and Section 66C Type C Option 3 buffer requirements of 32 evergreen shrubs to 0 at the south and east property boundaries as shown in the attached revised site plan. This will allow the synthetic athletic practice field to be constructed with decreased perimeter landscaping buffers. The property is located at 635 West International Speedway Boulevard, parcel ID 533976020040.
Thank you. Okay, name and address for the record, please. Again, yeah.
Reggie Theus. Now, I have a question. Is this my address or the address of the property?
Just your address, yeah, right. Yeah, where you live.
41 Riverside Drive, Holly Hill.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, tell us about your case.
Going back when the original plans were made, it was 15, 20 years ago. The field had not been constructed, obviously. It is the second phase of the Larry Hanfield Athletic Center. And the variance is about, on Jesse Street, there's several sections of this because we're talking about the Jesse side, we're talking about the south side and the north side, and then there's really nothing on the west side. But originally they had 8 or 9 live oak trees going down Jesse Street. Now, in what we're doing, we're putting a fence, Bethune-Cookman fencing along the Jesse Street and the perimeter of the field. There is not, if you've seen the photos, there's not a lot of room there. And you're talking about 8 or 9 large live oak trees, which would, in essence, destroy the concrete, destroy probably the root system would go underneath the field. It would ultimately drop sap and everything else, leaves and everything onto the field, which would be a real issue in terms of upkeep of the field. That's one area. We have the Bethune-Cookman fencing going alongside of it. We're trying to eliminate that and also make it very beautiful at the same time with the 7-foot fence, with the mesh around the fence, a hedge going along the side of the fence that's going to bloom white. There's going to be sod, and then the sidewalk, and of course then the street. On the inside of the property, on the north side, there is a retention pond. Now that retention pond needs some work. It's on the north side, so it's next to what we call the standalone building. And that area over there needs to be landscaped. So we're going to make sure that we landscape that very nicely. And now we're going back to the south side of the property where there was also supposedly some trees and things. There's a lot of vegetation over there. There's going to be a fence in front of where the field ends, and it's also sloped. So there's not going to be any sunlight over there at all, and we're going to sod that area. So, and there's not enough room for anybody really to go back there anyway. That really is it in a nutshell when it comes to what we're trying to do. I am very much want to make sure that this is a very beautiful field. If you've seen the field, it's a beautiful field, and the perimeter of the field will be even more beautiful because when you get that fencing up with the mesh, along with the hedges that are going on, I think it's going to be great. I love live oaks, but in this variance, asking for this, I love them when they're on somebody else's property most of the time. But it would really be a problem for the field itself and the landscaping that we're trying to create.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you say makes a lot of sense. And Bethune-Cookman certainly has in my opinion, an excellent track record in beautifying the neighborhood. All you've done over the years, it's just, it's very like a huge benefit to our community. And the field is beautiful. And I don't even understand how that vegetation would fit around. I mean, you kind of need to be able to walk on the field, and it just doesn't seem like it fits here,
Well,
in my
from-
opinion.
From Jesse Street, there's just not a lot of room.
Right.
So to have those trees along Jesse Street, yes, it would probably look nice, but it would be really difficult
Yeah.
to maintain. And it would be difficult to maintain anything around there in terms of, for the root system.
Right.
But that's where you're talking about having the hedge though along Jesse Street there?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
so gonna have the fencing here,
Okay.
which is, then it's gonna be meshed in. On the Jesse side, there's gonna be a long hedge all the way down Jesse. And that, again, I requested that bloom white, so that at certain times of the year, it'll be even more beautiful. And, there's some minimum amount of care for it, but certainly we wanna minimize that situation.
I'm glad to hear that, because looking at the application, it looked like everything was, you wanted zero, like no plants.
Oh, no.
down there.
See, that's what I was thinking.
Oh,
It's
no,
like,
no.
okay, yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, definitely, I think that it would, just wouldn't work for me. Wouldn't work for me at all if it didn't have a hedge.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is the field going to be artificial?
It's an artificial turf, yes.
So the challenge, even for the trees to stand, will be the irrigation, water irrigation, because you're going to cover that field. There'll be no more perk going on in that field. That water has to run off somewhere. And as it runs off into the oaks, you're going to have a problem with the oaks staying alive anyway.
Well,
I'm not an agronomist, I'm just
yeah, there is a great drainage system on that field, and there are 2 retention ponds. So the drainage will not go that way toward Jesse. It's going to go toward Lincoln. And then the secondary retention pond is on the north side in between the buildings. So there's 2 retention ponds to hold that water. But just the runoff in general, it will run off just the edges and stuff. But the actual water on the field, I've been here, I'm in my 3rd year. I had never seen water in any of those retention ponds. Since we built the field, just when we had this last big rain, I walked over there and there was water in that retention pond. So that meant the drainage was working. But it's definitely going to be a problem if those trees are there. But I think more so for the root system than anything. It would definitely destroy the sidewalk and also the fencing.
The field looks great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
drove
gorgeous.
by there today. And the explanation they have too with maintaining that, with all the tree debris, daily cleaning and, I mean, not that it's a bad thing. I mean, he could do that.
You haven't
But
been on campus.
the problem is the safety of the players practicing if there's any debris on there slipping and hurting themselves.
Is that
As an
student housing?
ex-jock, I don't want to see that happen to anybody.
Yes,
Is that student housing that's going to be across the street there?
I'm working on that.
Is that?
Yeah, I was going to ask,
You have a sign.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm working on that. I'd love for that whole area to just be a football complex. I
yeah,
also have the building in the back of the retention pond on Lincoln, that is an apartment building there that we own, that I would love to be able to make that new building that's gonna go up, and the one in the back all about football. Or
Cool.
athletics.
So
does the university own that land now? Along Jesse,
The
the
one
other
on
side of
Where
Jesse.
they're building the apartments,
along Jesse,
along Jesse,
yeah.
on the opposite
the
side.
opposite side.
Yes, we own, there's probably 5, it's a very strange configuration. Lot here, then it goes that way, then it's
Right.
back there. But not where the apartment building is going, we do
Gotcha.
not own that piece.
Okay.
We own everything around it.
You need some room for your band too. I saw them up at the Jaguar Chiefs, and they were phenomenal up there.
Yeah. No, we've also made it very clear that anytime they want to use that field, they're welcome. And in that process, I also talked to the neighbors, and they actually love having the band come over there and practice.
That's great.
You know, so it'll be a little bit different once we put the fence up and we'll be able to see.
You will hear them.
You will definitely hear.
Yeah, I'm very empathetic of live oaks. I had a commercial property that had live oaks on it.
Roots
Just-
get everywhere.
Well, it's just a couple times a year, they just keep dropping and dropping. It's just a mess, and, you know, especially with
Yeah.
AstroTurf,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
So when you say you're fencing, the fencing that's gonna go up, is it gonna be your, like the aluminum black fencing?
The aluminum black fence.
Okay.
The reality of the aluminum black fence is gonna go the length of the field, but I'm extending it even further over.
Okay.
Because there's a driveway there. That building is going to be the locker room. I've moved from the fence to the locker room, trying to, basically, you have a nice field, but you don't have a place to get dressed now.
Okay.
So the next project is the locker room.
And then you said there's gonna be meshing over that fence? What kind of mesh? What are we
No,
talking?
well, the wind mesh
Yeah.
that goes around fields,
Okay.
it's gonna be black. And one of the things I thought that, when we were talking to the city, one of the things they wanted was that to be black, so people driving by would not be distracted.
Oh.
Right.
That's-
So,
Well, I was thinking about.
By
it when I
great
saw the
football.
apartment- Yeah, when I saw the apartment complex, I thought, okay, they have these outdoor lights. What's that gonna be like? You know,
it's gonna be.
is it pretty zoned in?
Yeah, it's pretty zoned.
Pretty zoned in on the field?
It's pretty zoned in on the field.
Okay.
Doesn't really
Okay.
bleed that much.
Okay, and the bushes that you're envisioning are gonna be roughly how tall? I mean, what do you think when they're mature?
3 to 4 feet,
Okay.
about 4 feet.
Is that gonna prevent the wind from hitting the football players and having them go, it's really hot in here?
The band moving.
Yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, okay, the mesh, okay, yeah, no, I think it's beautiful. Yeah, you've done a nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too. I have very few questions because I think your reputation speaks for itself. So, any other questions?
It was a field that they didn't think was gonna get done.
Yeah, I'm so glad we have it. We're very fortunate to have it.
Really nice, I was out there.
Yeah. Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience to speak on this topic? Do you want to say something, or you just okay?
George Bright, my deputy AD.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Do we have a motion?
I forgot, I have a motion, but I put the, sorry, I forgot.
Case F.
Oh,
Case
F. F.
Yes.
What's
F for football.
There you go.
B, O,
Oh.
PLA 2023-026.
yes.
To approve that request.
I second it.
Mrs. Groom.
Mr. George,
Yes.
Mr. Betts,
Yes.
Mr. Connors,
Yes.
Mr. Harshaw,
Yes,
Ms. Barhu,
Yes.
Chairman Bowler.
Yes. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
I'll come and check it out.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, you know.
So, Mr. Theus, I gotta ask you,
Yes, sir.
who was the toughest player you played against?
Michael Jordan is still the GOAT,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
still the GOAT.
Thank
No doubt. I also would like to thank the city for all the help that they've given us, especially through the process that, you know, we were all very new to this process, and they were very, very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I know. I feel like you get them all the time, but
back in the 80s, they had
we don't get tired of hearing it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Saved my knee.
It's something that probably should have been done about 30 years ago.
Yep.
I'm happy to be a part of building it. Thank you, thanks. again.
Thank you.
you, sir.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come see us.
Bye. Alrighty. Next thing on the agenda is it a review of the cases? Did I get that right? Or new business first? Okay. Review of the cases, please.
Case A was approved 6-0, Case B was approved 5-1, Case C 6-0, and Case F 6-0.
Thank you. New business. I think we were going to talk, we had the letter. Do you have something else besides the letter?
I got the email today about the schedule for next year.
Okay.
So I just want to nail down.
Okay.
We're going to stay with 2:30. We're going to go to.
Okay. Okay.
And it's still tentative for November and December. It's kind of to be determined. We're doing like 3-month increments.
Like we are, you mean? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I just want to
Okay.
nail down time.
Okay, let's
Time
definitely talk about that.
December.
And as I think everybody knows, Missy sent out the letter for us that Mr. Harshaw drafted on behalf of the board, asking the city commission to please, help find some people. We have 4 people expiring, and so then we were kind of talking before, if everybody could just follow up with your commissioner. I did write Quinita this morning, and I will follow up with her again. Because my term is expiring for Zone 3, and I will be, yes. Well, I feel like I need to say it a lot.
Already made your point.
Okay.
We know.
Excited about
No.
Not happy about it.
I like you guys.
When you say it with that.
I like you guys so much, but it's.
You needed me with all the
It's,
guys?
I don't know if I want to, but well, it's not decided yet. But let's talk about the time.
So I heard from Miss Paris. She emailed me like almost right after I sent out the
Okay.
letter. She asked for your contact information. I don't know if she got in touch with you. And I want to say Stacy Cantu. I'm not 100% sure. I got like one other email.
Okay.
And gave you guys his contact information. That was the last I heard of it, so I don't know where it's at.
Okay.
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 How long are these terms? 1 year or 2?
3.
3?
Right. Are they
I
3?
think they're 2.
2
Oh,
years.
they are?
2.
Look at that.
Oh.
No,
Oh, I thought they were 3.
No, I think it's 2.
Oh.
You're 2.
Okay.
I'm only going on 30 years now. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you
I'm just kidding. He's going, what are you, 32?
He's 20.
20.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
You started
I will, if you say you're leaving me, you get nothing.
He's been here the longest.
Okay.
Definitely get you, okay, I'll make it myself, I promise.
Does the 2:30 time work for everybody?
Oh, man.
It does. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to be the one to.
Yeah, I'm the only one that doesn't like it. Like, I would like it Thursday at 8 in the morning.
No one cares you're leaving.
I know. Exactly. So with that, my threat of leaving continues until.
You run it at 8, I would go for Thursday in the morning too. At least you can kill the entire.
Yeah, it's just it's hard for me to yeah. I have work conflicts, so yeah. But if it works for everybody, I think that's great, and we can always continue to change it. So it seems like it works for everybody. So
So,
yeah, except the most important person.
I wanted to ask you a question, not about.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing I think is that 2:30 does actually work better for people if they do want
I
to come to the
agree, yeah.
meetings
What now?
and talk about, this time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Most people, I think, can say, oh, if I want to testify against something, I have the opportunity
Right.
to do so.
Right.
More so in the afternoons than the
1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's probably the most important. That's a great
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
And I'd rather have that input.
Yeah. No, that
Yeah,
I
it makes
agree.
the cases easier when you have the input.
Yeah.
You got the neighbors all going, hey, we love them, they're great.
Right.
Or the other way,
Or, yeah, we've had a lot of those.
Orchards and Pittsburgh.
Right.
20 years. Ooh, that's
some
problems.
interesting comments.
Yeah.
Input.
Okay. So we'll leave it. And I don't know if we have to make it temporary as much as that just seems like it should be the new time. Right, because, we've gone a whole year, we keep, and if people want to say, let's change the time, then they can always, yeah,
In
yeah.
about 9 months, I'll
Yeah.
get it going in the morning time. So you can leave it temporary, wait till the 9 months come, and then I'll be ready to go for morning time, if need be.
Why don't we draw straws each time? Okay, so I think that answers that, right? Is there any other new business? You had a question?
Yeah, I did, Missy, I think I heard you say you spoke to Stacy, or Stacy
Yeah.
called you.
I want to say she called me, I'm not sure, because it was the day that I sent the email out, I heard from Miss Paris, and then I want to say it was Stacy that called me, but because she did call me, because she wanted to know if either of you guys had said you were stepping down, and I said, no, you didn't say you were stepping down, but you said you never know what tomorrow brings, and there's that. So yeah, I did
I'll
speak
reach
to her,
out to
now that I,
Stacy. Thank you.
And I won't be here next
Yeah, I wanted to say, because I know somebody told me last month, so you won't be here for.
We'll miss you. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, that's important. That's more important than us. But happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see everybody. The next meeting is November 16th.
16.
November 16th.
All right, before.
Ooh, that'll be perfect, because my birthday's the 14th.
Who's bringing the turkey?
It's not.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it really? My
What?
birthday's the 14th.
It's your birthday.
What?
November the 14th?
You're both, you may get a cake next month.
Scorpios.
And it's my 50th.
Wow.
Wow,
Oh my
you're-
God.
Wow.
I feel like you shouldn't have to do the next meeting, you know?
Mine's 59. I have another year reprieve.
You about to hit the big 60?
No, next year, not this year.
Oh, next
59 this year.
Wow.
What a young buck.
Well,
I know.
If you weren't hitting that number, you would not be here, so. It's awesome. Awesome.
Beats the alternative, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Always
Good
gonna be on the
point.
green side of the
Good
grass.
point.
Yeah, my mother.
The chewing side.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, so a lot of people checking out, so good thing to be
Appreciate every
celebrating
day.
a birthday.
Adjourned.
Motion adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.